If you're watching this video, chances are you've already had some experience with casting, or you're trying to understand how this world really works. And very likely, at least once, you've asked yourself this question, maybe without even saying out loud, why did they choose that person and not me? It's a question I hear all the time, and it's one I completely understand. Because from the outside, fashion looks like an industry where everything revolves around beauty, the right bodies, the right faces, as if there were a precise formula. The truth is, that formula doesn't really exist. Or rather, it only exists in the mind of those who see the final result without knowing the process behind it. I work as casting director in fashion, and I can tell you that if my job were simply to choose the most beautiful person, it would be extremely easy, and honestly pretty boring. Beautiful people are everywhere. That's not the point. The real point is understanding what they communicate, and whether what they communicate is coherent with what a brand is trying to say at a specific moment. A casting is never a ranking. It's not a competition. It's not a judgment of your value as a person. It's a much more specific, and in some way much more limited choice. A brand is not looking for the best face in absolute terms. It's looking for a face that doesn't feel out of place within a very precise story. And that means the same person can be perfect for one project and completely wrong for another, even just a few days later. One of the things I see most often is people coming to casting feeling like they have to prove something, like they have to be good enough, like they have to please. And paradoxically, that's one of the main reasons why they don't work. When someone is too focused on being perfect, they become stiff. They start controlling themselves, and what comes through isn't confidence but tension, not presence but effort. Beauty alone is not enough. And in some cases, it can even become a limitation, because it turns into a kind of mask you hide behind. I've seen people who were aesthetically flawless come across as completely anonymous, because there was nothing truly emerging. And at the same time, I've seen people with irregular features outside of traditional standards work in a very powerful way because they were credible, because they were real, because they weren't trying to be someone else. One thing I think is really important to understand is that in casting, the people who try to be everything rarely works. What works is being readable. And readable doesn't mean simple or obvious, it means clear. A clear person, even with very visible limits, communicates much more than someone neutral, who tries to adapt to every situation. When someone walks into a casting room, I'm not just looking at their face or their body. I'm watching how they enter, how they stop, whether they can stay in silence without feeling uncomfortable, whether they actually listen to what's happening around them. Some people feel they need to feel every moment, every space, every look. Others are simply able to be there. You feel the difference immediately, even if it's hard to explain in words. And this brings us a point that I think is fundamental. Not being chosen does not mean you're not enough. It simply means that for that story, at that moment, you weren't the right person. That doesn't take anything away from who you are or what you can do, but if you experience every casting as a total judgment of yourself, everything becomes heavier. If there's one thing I hope comes through in this video, it's this. Stop asking yourself whether you're beautiful enough for fashion. It's a question that leads nowhere. Start asking yourself instead what kind of presence you have, what kind of energy you bring when you walk into a room, what kind of story you tell even when you're not speaking. Because in the end, casting is not only about beauty. It's about coherence, credibility, and relationship. On this channel, we'll talk about all of this. How castings really work, what often goes unsaid, and what I think is important to know if you want to move through this world with a bit more awareness. If that interests you, I'll see you in the next video.